Alright, so this is our tutorial video number 2. So we were working on this team battle game. So the game I think is really bright, so I'm gonna go ahead and change the map of the game. I'm in the map tab. Yeah, I'm gonna click on the gearbox and I'm gonna change the tile sheet. And I'll go to asset library and I'll use the forest. And there you go, I changed the map just like this. Keep in mind that you can always upload your own tile sheet as well from the computer. So you can just click on the upload button and upload any tile sheet that you may find somewhere in some game asset website or whatnot. Or you can build your own. And let's republish the game and see what it looks like. So now as you can see, the map has changed. My unit still looks the same. Everything else feels exactly like what it was before. But yeah, it's a lot, it looks a lot nicer. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is to add an item. So there's no items in the game right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and add new. And we're gonna add a weapon. And we'll add a simple gun. We'll just call it gun. And save it. And yes, this item is going to fire projectile. So I'm gonna choose a projectile that travels at constant speed. And as for bullet, I'm gonna choose yellow bullet. I'll go ahead and save it. Okay. And then the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to unit types submenu, and then I click on the unit that I have created, and I'll give default item, which is gun that we just created, to our unit. So what this means is when unit is created, it'll come with this item. And you can give multiple items if you want to give more than one item to the unit. I'll go ahead and republish the game. And you can see now that the unit starts with the item in hand. It's kind of held in an awkward position. And the items doesn't really do anything, as you can see. It seems like it's reacting to the bullet hitting it, but aside from that, nothing's really going on. So the next thing we're gonna do here is to make it so units will have their HP attribute, and we can cause items to do damage on the units. Alright, so we're gonna go back to the game and we click on the unit that we have, and we are gonna set the attribute, which every unit in the game have two attributes by default, health and speed. And you can decide how the health is displayed, either as a center bar or as unit bar. Okay, and the difference between center bar and unit bar, and let me show you what it looks like when I do that. So as you can see now, you can see both the unit bars and the center bars. So you can choose to display your attributes differently. And you can see that the item's actually causing damage. So if you look at item types and look at gun, and let's go under weapon tab. And here you can actually see that there's a damage section where it says that the item is causing 10 health damage per hit. Now in order to kill your unit or your enemy's units, once their HP is hitting 0, you need to be using scripts. So you have to go to scripts tab, and here you can see a bunch of different scripts here. Let me just actually go through these scripts. So first of all, initialize. This particular script gets executed when the game starts. There's no action, so nothing really happens within the script. But triggers, what's under the trigger here is determining how the script is executed. So if you take a look at player joins script, you can see that the script is getting executed when player joins the game. And yeah, you can have multiple triggers that can cause this script to run. But for now, again, this script only runs when player joins the game. And when player joins the game, we're gonna run these 3 actions in an order. So first, we're gonna create a unit for the triggering player, which in other words, the player that actually joined the game, that caused this script to run. We're gonna create a unit for him or her. and we're gonna do it at a random position in the entire map region. So we're gonna create a unit in like basically anywhere on the map. It's gonna be the first thing that we're gonna do. And the second thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make that triggering player's camera track the last created unit. The last created unit being the unit that was just created in the previous action. And then we're gonna assign the triggering player, which is the player, again, the player that just joined the game, to player. What it means, what player here is a player type. It's kind of like a factor. So actually, this is kind of confusing because it says player here. I would actually name this. So you have to go to player type, and you can see a player, right? I can say something like human players, for example. And I could create AI players as another faction. And you can actually, in this section, you can actually set these different factions so you can have AI players treat human players as hostile factions. We can go over this later. For now, let's go back to scripts, and you can see here, by the way, after we change that player to human players, it is actually reflected here immediately after. So what it's doing here is when player joins a game, we're assigning that player to human players faction, or player types is what we call them. So those three actions are called when someone joins the game, and when someone leaves the game. So this script gets executed when someone leaves the game. We're gonna go through all the units that are owned by that triggering player, and we're gonna delete that unit. Selected unit means the unit that is currently selected during the iteration of for loop. So we're running this for loop for all units that's owned by the triggering player, and we're gonna destroy it. And if the player has 10 units, we're gonna destroy all 10 of them. So going back, we were gonna create a script that is going to destroy the unit when the HP becomes 0, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and right click here and add a new script, and we'll call it unit death. Okay, so that's a new script, and this script will get executed when a unit's attribute becomes 0 or less. That is going to get executed because HP is the attribute of the unit. So when that becomes 0, we're going to execute the script, and we're going to add an action, okay, and we're going to actually add a if statement. So if, I'm going to click on conditions here, and I'm going to compare the attribute types. So if the attribute type, I'm going to click on entity here, and so if the attribute type of the last triggering attribute, which is the triggering attribute in this case would be health, right? So if the attribute type of the last triggering attribute equals health, and we want to make sure that this is health that's triggering it, not something else like mana or speed or something else, right? So as long as we know that it's health that's becoming 0, we're going to continue within this if statement. And what we're going to do is we are going to destroy the entity, which in this case would be the last triggering unit. In this case, there are two parameters that are passed, which are the triggering attribute and triggering unit. So let's go ahead and republish the game and see if the unit gets destroyed when its health becomes 0. Alright, so I see there's another player that's joining the game, and then if this player actually hits my unit, like that, the HP is going down. So let's see what happens when it becomes 0. As you can see, your unit gets destroyed. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and leave comments if you have any questions. I do read them, and I see you guys in our next tutorial video.